Hello, this is Tom from Tabletop Tap Room, and I have been trying to prep to do a recording for a part two. There was a lot of positive feedback on part one of the bankruptcy hearing that I did, and this has been so much work, and I've been distracted by the info dump that went on by Michael Hovermale, where he did a 250-page dump of his text logs between him and Justin Lanassa, which were very enlightening. Very, very enlightening. Rumor has it he is panicked that he will be embarrassed by what's in there. But I mean, he did have an opportunity to redact that, and he did. There's plenty of evidence of redaction where the text logs are single spaced, and you see all of these blanks where it's just like a whole line has been whited out. And they're all like 99% of them are all in something that Michael said. And so you'll see a line where he says something, then there'll be a blank space, and then a line where he says something. And that's just not how the tech they were single space. It was just every single line. These gaps are there because somebody redacted a sentence. And unfortunately for Michael, he did not redact about a dozen emails of TSR veterans. And, there's some people, it's just the first name like Zach and then the full phone number. So I'm sure that guy's, I don't know who that is. It could be Zach, anybody. Could even be my stepson, Zach, for all I know. But I don't think so. It's the area code doesn't match his phone. Anyhow, again, I've been so distracted with the with that info dump. It's been hard to get back to my notes on this, and so I thought I would just do a live stream, get it out, get it done, not bother with going back and editing and cleaning it up and packaging it all nice and doing all the extra work. I'm just going to do a live stream. I'm beginning to see the attraction for doing things as a live stream. I noticed that Eric Tenkar does a lot of live streams. So moving right along, I want to first of all say thank you to my subscribers. Thank you very much. Appreciate the support. If you've not subscribed, please do hit the like, subscribe, and bell icon. Help me build the channel. And again, thank you to everyone who's given me good feedback on the first coverage, part one of the bankruptcy. So moving right along, picking up where I left off in the notes. And we left off with the review of the rental property. So after that, in the notes, there was this whole thing, and the trustee wanted to ask Justin a very specific question. So he's like, did you, he's asking him, do you have your petition with you? This is the petition that Justin filed, his petition for the bankruptcy that he filed as the officer and sole proprietor of TSR. No, not in front of me, but I read it over this morning. The trustee really wants to have it in front of Justin and ask him very specific questions. So Justin's got to commit to an answer, and he wants to get him on record. And so there's this whole byplay where he's like, yeah, I read it this morning. And that's not good enough for the trustee. And so then Justin's doing it's right here. I could pull it up online. And so then the trustee's like, do you have a copy of your petition and your bankruptcy schedule? He's totally unprepared. He goes, let me find it. Hold on. I can't find it. I actually looked at the documents they sent. Then he's like, I can't seem to find it. Where the hell is it? You hear him actually say that. Where the hell is it? I looked it over this morning. Go ahead, ask her a question. I'll answer from memory. No. Trustee wants to have it in front of him and ask very specific questions. And so finally, Justin's lawyer says, I'll try to email it to him real quick. And then Justin says, I think I found them. I'm trying to open them. It's not opening. It just pops up with different letters and numbers. I can't open it. Sorry. So the trustee's a little frustrated and stymied. He's all right. You answered to the following question. On the behalf of TSR, does the debtor have any deposits or prepayments? Is that an accurate answer? Justin, to the best of my knowledge. Most of the time, yes, sir. Yes, yes, sir. When he's pushing a narrative. But here, to the best of my knowledge. It gets evasive. And the trustee really camped on that because the prepayment, because we all know there were prepayments. There were prepayments for Dungeon Crawl. And then he screwed all those people over and didn't mail them their Dungeon Crawl. After posting photos of the 1,200 Dungeon Crawls that Don Samore and Wizard Tower Games delivered at the first TSR Con, they posted right online on Facebook, hey, they're all ready to ship. We're shipping them. And they never shipped them. And the Cult of Abaddon, and they never shipped them. And they screwed over all those pre-orders and kept the money. And so that whole drama has played out for 2 years. And finally, when they ordered another 1,000 printing from China, they finally, we believe, have mailed out all of the. We don't know for sure if there's anybody who's been stiffed in all of this. But we do know that Eric Steen, Eric Tenkar's straw buyer, did receive the Dungeon Crawl, and Eric's like, I'll pick it up from you. So we do know that at least that one has been delivered and a few others, but we don't know that all of them have been delivered. So this whole thing has gone on with this. Oh, I can't open it. I looked at he's totally unprepared. He has nothing in front of them. And this is a theme throughout this whole hearing. I'll have to get that for you. Yeah, I know. I kept good records. I'll have to get that for you. Oh, no. Yeah, I sent the tax. Yeah, but I don't seem to have your taxes here. Oh, I'll have to get those for you. It was promissory notes. You have those? Yeah. I'll get them for you. He's totally unprepared. So moving along, he says... he keeps pushing on this prepayments, and he goes, not to the best of my knowledge. And then the trustee gets real pointed and he says, would anybody else have any better knowledge about TSR LLC than you, sir? And Justin's like, no, sir. Did anyone deposit money or prepay for a property, any property or anything that was on the TSR website? And then finally, Justin goes, I understand what you're saying, and I probably answered wrong. It should have been yes for the Dungeon Hobby Shop. I understand what you're asking. I probably, I goes, so the trustee then says, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm trying to understand when it says, does the debtor have any deposits or prepayments? Did anyone deposit money or anything? And he interrupts, no, sir. So he's trying to establish, are there any other debtors? The trustee is doing his due diligence here. And then the next question is, does the debtor have any accounts receivable? Does anyone owe the debtor any money for any of those products or anything that TSR is doing? Is TSR LLC owed any investments of any kind? No, sir. Now, I just want to point out, one of the things that Justin has been saying is that he paid Don Samora money and Don Samora did not deliver the product. Right here, he has testified under oath that nobody owes money. There are no accounts receivable. The TSR is paid and they're waiting. Okay. And so right there, Don's case, slam dunk. He's just cleared Don of his accusation that Don owes him. Does TSR LLC own any investments of any kind? And the answer is no, sir. So next we get into this. this drilling down on inventory. And the trustee says, you answered no. Does the debtor own any inventory? And Justin says, that's true. No. So then the trustee says, TSR LLC never owned any of these games or books. Or, and then Justin, another thing, I know I've said this before in the previous video. There's going to be a pattern. He's going to interrupt him, especially when he doesn't like the question and he wants to push a narrative. He's going to interrupt this. So he interrupts him and says, no, sir. There were a few games like Dungeon Crawl and Those Pesky Goblins, which I had limited publishing agreement. So that way we could allow TSR to publish those, but they didn't own them. So TSR pays a printer, gets something published, but it doesn't own it. And the trustee's not going to buy that. But so the trustee says, so there is like when you put a mark on a game and it says TSR, that doesn't mean anything. Justin says, it's a publisher's mark. Exactly, sir. So the trustee's like, I'm not familiar with that. I don't know what the difference that would be in who the owner of a game versus, and then Justin interrupts, what the agreement said. What the agreement said. Sounds like there's a written agreement. What the agreement said was that once Dungeon Crawl or Those Pesky Goblins was trademarked, that it would be the property of TSR. Until then, the agreement said that the Dungeon Hobby Shop and the author, Justin Lanassa, on those two items. That sentence means nothing. It doesn't make any sense. So TSR owns it until, but then it doesn't own it. But Justin Lanassa owns his copyright, Those Pesky Goblins. And we're going to stop and talk about Those Pesky Goblins in a minute. And what agreement are you referring to? The trustee asks. It was an agreement between Dungeon Hobby Shop and TSR that has with things that aren't published. I rewound the recording of this to this point and played this for myself several times because he says it's an agreement that Dungeon Hobby Shop and TSR has with things that aren't. Let me undo the contraction there. Are not published. Again, that makes no sense because we're really talking about things that are published. So we're talking about things that are not published. I mean, what? We're talking about the patches at Dungeon Hobby. I mean, this makes no sense. And so then the trustee asks, is that in writing? Because he makes it sound like it's in writing. What it said makes it sound like it's in writing. But so he asks, is that in writing? Or is that also a verbal agreement? And then Justin says, that was verbal. And so then the trustee says, verbal between you and then interrupts. Dungeon Hobby Shop owns Dungeon Crawl board games and Those Pesky Goblins. Justin Lanassa owns that through copyright. So he says, Dungeon Hobby Shop owns this, but I own Pesky Goblins through copyright. Anyhow, so the trustee says, all right. Now, I honestly, he kind of just said it all right. Like he's just, oh, okay. I really want to put some drama on it and go, all right. You know that. So when I do this all right, I'm doing an injustice to the trustee. I just got to say that because it's not how he said it, but it's how I like to imagine he said it. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, we're not buying this. Anyhow, so he clears his throat and he says, so your interest in TSR, the Game Wizards, that's the logo that we had talked about earlier. Is that correct? Yes, sir. And you said it's worth 0. And then Justin says, because he did say it was worth zero. I would say don't know. So then the trustee says, okay, you said, and Justin interrupts him. He doesn't even let the trustee finish because he doesn't like where the questioning is going. And he interrupts and says, current value, I'm not sure. He's getting testy here. So then Justin's lawyer steps in and says, the question asks about book value, and I'm not sure there is a book value on this, but the estimation of the market value is unknown. So he's helping cover for Justin. And the trustee says, I understand. I'm just trying to delineate the claim, what he thinks it's worth, and what it's worth to TSR. And then Justin says, yes, sir. So then the trustee says, all right, so there's a license here from Larry Elmore to use the board game art on a game called Dungeon Crawl. Justin says, yes, sir. Doesn't mind this question, doesn't interrupt. Are you saying that TSR has a license? Justin doesn't like where this question's going, so he interrupts. The license says TSR / Justin Lanassa. It's a dual license. Why is this important? Well, let me just finish a little bit more here. This doesn't reflect that. Where did it come from? So the trustee's looking at documents that were submitted, and he says, this does not reflect that. Where did that come from? And Justin says, it's under the agreement that Larry signed. It's in there. The trustee's a lawyer. He's read this. He doesn't reflect that. And he's like, okay. Larry signed an agreement with him, and then Justin interrupts. TSR and Justin Lanassa. He's pushing an agenda. Okay, do we have a copy of that agreement? Yes, sir. He's already asserted it's in there, what the trustee's looking at. But he's, yes, sir, I can get it for you if you don't have it. And the trustees, that would be great. So why is it important for Justin Lanassa to push this narrative that the license was with TSR, which I believe, and that it was with Justin Lanassa, which I don't believe at all? And that's because he has already put stickers on all of the everything that said TSR. They put an OSR sticker on there. And he intends to keep publishing Dungeon Crawl as an OSR Games. Now, what's really interesting, and I think we should divert here and talk about that 250-page text message info dump that Michael Hovermale did that he didn't think would become public record. And in there, Justin is explaining to Michael Hovermale very early in their relationship. This is in June or July 2021, that the plan is this, that TSR is to be sacrificed, that they want to push and manipulate Wizards of the Coast into attacking TSR, into suing TSR, and they would sacrifice it, that the plan will be OSR Games because the name is known within the community. So we're going to take this name, the OSR, Old School Renaissance, Old School Rules, and we're going to make a company called by that name. So we'll have instant name recognition, and we can bojack the name OSR. He announces to Michael Hovermale, this is the plan all along. So this stupid mistake of suing TSR, because TSR had not actually sued them yet, okay, that was part of his plan. All of this was a plan. Okay, and so he thinks he's going to get away with continuing to publish Dungeon Crawl as an OSR Games flagship product. That's what's going on here. And so he has to assert that this license to use this artwork from Larry Elmore has his name on it. And without seeing it, I don't believe that to be true. But he's pushing this narrative. And it's very important to him. And so that's why he keeps interrupting here. So then the trustee discusses the lawsuits, current lawsuit with Wizards of the Coast, trademark dispute. There's some questions. They're not that nearly that important. We get down to a discussion of assets, and the assets. The trustee says, so Mr. Lanassa, you have here, looking at the petition, TSR has 0 assets. And then Justin says, except for the trademarks and copyrights, sir. And then Justin's lawyer interjects the intellectual property, which is of an unknown value. So then the trustee says, have you or anyone tried to estimate the value of those trademarks? And then he says, not at this time, sir. And he says, as I switch to debt, obligations, and liabilities, there's no secured debt that is owed by TSR. Is that correct? And Justin says, yes, sir, that is. And it's garbled here. I wasn't sure what he said. I assume he said correct, but it was garbled and I just couldn't tell. So then the trustee says, as far as you know, you don't owe federal taxing authorities or the North Carolina Department of Revenue. And then Justin's lawyer interjects to help cover Justin. We're talking TSR. And the trustee is, yes, sir. And Justin says, 2023 was $600 some odd in revenue. I doubt there will be any. And then the trustee asks, the 600, where did you derive the revenue? This is where it gets fun. From the dollar sales off games online and things of that nature. I would have to look into the records to make sure. But that is probably where it came from. Yes, sir. So then the trustee goes into asking about China, and now we're going to get Mick McArt's name in here. And when you order 1,000 games from China of the Dungeon Crawl, tell me what the process was like. Do you fill out a form online? Do you talk to somebody? What happens? Justin explains the whole process. You do it online. You have a rep here in the States. They take all your art. It's many months for them to come back and approve it. He says, I believe me and McArt are the ones that ordered a big lump sum of games. So I ended up paying McArt, and he paid for them, and he's doing all the publishing now and ordering. And those pesky goblins, I believe. So let's do a little side note here on those pesky goblins. Those pesky goblins is actually published on Amazon under Justin Lanassa's account. And the terms under which he's done that publication with Amazon allows you to sell copies on, say, your website. And it would be like justinlanassa.com. So you'd be like, I'm a published author. I'm publishing on Amazon, but I also run a little web page for thomasferralt.com. And I could have some copies of the book that I sell here on my website. That would not be a violation of it. However, Justin's selling it on dungeonhobbyshopmuseum.com. That is, according as I understand reading through the Amazon materials, that is a violation of that. McArt is now selling all of Justin's stuff for him at street fairs and whatever have you that he goes to. You know, McArt is the spice guy. You might know him as the spice guy. You know, where he's just repackaged spices with a label and called it, Dungeon Spice Mix, whatever. So what's interesting here is that the trustee announces at the end of this hearing that there will be depositions. Depositions only happen in 2% of bankruptcies. It's unusual. So of all the bankruptcies that happen in America, only 2% go to depositions, but there's going to be depositions. And I think because Mick McArt just got named, he's going to get questioned. So I think that will be very interesting to see those depositions when they become public record, to see if Mick McArt, what he does. You know, when the heat gets turned up, the rats begin to turn on each other. And so some of these people who are going to get deposed, it should be interesting to see if they're willing to lie for Justin or if they don't spill beans. So Mick's about to be served, I think, for a deposition. And, we're talking about those pesky goblins. Why is Mick suddenly ordering them? And why is it? I think Justin has just revealed to us that he goes, Mick McArt, I believe he's got those pesky. There's no reason for Mick to order them from Justin's Amazon account so they could sell them there in Wisconsin and Michigan. No reason for that. Why is he doing it? I think Justin's trying to set up layers of onion and cutouts because he doesn't want to lose his stock, because it's clear from the info dump that Hovermale did with the text messages that those pesky goblins was developed in-house by TSR, and then Justin said, well, I wrote it, yes, copyright me. However, that is not true. Justin didn't write it. He copied wholesale right out of Cult of Abaddon for portions of those pesky goblins. And I forget the guy's name. I have it, but there was a gentleman in California, was friends of Michael Hovermale, that Michael Hovermale dragged into New TSR, who developed those pesky goblins. He had a place called Goblin's Hollow. And this business that he had was completely burned out in a wildfire in California. And the town was running an Indiegogo to raise money to help rebuild. This guy, he's completely burned out, lost his business, lost his home. He's actually been homeless. I talked to him online, and he's virtually living out of a car and a tent. You know, so he gets his phone. So it was very disjointed for me to communicate with him. But it's very clear. And I talked to this guy, and he really felt he developed about a third of those pesky goblins. So about a third of those pesky goblins, this guy is the author. Justin's completely cut him out, written him out, claimed authorship. And then Justin has cut and paste straight out of Cult of Abaddon by Vince Florio. And then just give it, and then there's evidence of copy and pasting from 1E sources. So it's just the whole thing. He's claiming, oh, I wrote it. I own the copyright. And it's an absolute horror show of copy and paste. And, you know, so that's why Mick McArt would be ordering those pesky goblins and then having them for sale there in Wisconsin. And that's why he's spinning Mick McArt here. Oh, he's got them because he wants to hang on to his product for OSR games. So except the UPC, you know, the barcode on the book, still says TSR. Anyhow, so that's those pesky goblins. Now, in this next line of questioning was about the unsecured debt that Justin's claiming, 100-something thousand from him, 190,000 from Hardwire Tattoo. And it boils down to these were checks written by Justin to the IMEX Law Group that are handling his case in Washington State against WotC. And so the trustee is drilling down, and he's like, and did you do a promise? Because Justin's claiming it was promissory notes. He goes, did you do a promissory note each time you did a draft? Yes, sir, says Justin. Did you do all these promissory notes on May 1st? Now, he's asking this question. I'm telling you, the trustee knows something here because he keeps coming back to May 1st, May 3rd, May 6th. And Justice says, no, sir. Where did you get these particular promissory note from? And he goes, I just used one that was online. I'm telling you, the trustee knows something here. He's looking at stuff and he's saying, the dates are all wrong here. So he then says, you sent a letter of demand to TSR. Justin interrupts because he doesn't like where this question's going. He interrupts. He says, yeah, calling the notes due on May 1st. It's what I did. Why'd you decide to do it on May 1st? And Justice says, I just figured it was a good time, closer to the trial, to know where I stand. There was no set reason. Now, May 1st, the trial was set for October, but then delayed to March. May 1st is practically a year away. He's saying, oh, well, because it was closer to the trial, and I just wanted to know where. It's such a BS answer. Makes no sense. So he then says, you have corresponding, this is the trustee, billing statements for each one of these promissory notes in amount. And Justin's, yes, sir. If you can get those to me, yes, sir. I'll have to email them to you. And so this is, he drills down a little bit more and he asks, he says, now you wrote these promissory notes. Did you deposit this money into TSR's account and write the check from TSR? No, I just wrote it. Now, here's the funny thing about that. Here's the funny thing about Justin doing that. Justin's named in the lawsuit. Justin wrote a check from his name, from his account. And then Justin, as the CEO of Hardwire Tattoo, wrote a check from. He got the value of that, but he's now trying to put all of the legal debt over on TSR and walk away clean. Is what he's trying to do with this. And because he'll write off $300,000 in debt between himself and Hardwire, that's tax credits for 2024. It's what that for when he files his taxes in 2024. And so he's looking to just not pay taxes and take all of this debt, which is stuff that he wrote these checks for, and he got the value of these checks. You needed a law firm to defend yourself. You wrote that law firm a check. You're named in the suit. You got what you paid for. But now he's trying to use that debt and write it off on taxes is what's going on here. So that's a whole, and then he actually circled back to the $14,000 in rent again. It's a joke. We don't even have to go through every line of this. So we will jump down to when you open the business, you say TSR, you as in the one that provided the information, you had gross revenue of $17,000 for the first year. And on what basis were those revenues? And Justin says, I believe it was game sales, but I'm going to have to check. I can get you that, sir. Again, unprepared. I got nothing in front of me, but this is his bankruptcy hearing. He goes, but that is different from the license of $1 to sell games, correct? Yes, sir. So the trustee says, so TSR LLC actually did own and sell games. Is that fair? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The trustee asks, was that Dungeon Crawl? Or what are we talking about? And he says, Tales for Tots and things of that nature. I have the list of sales and things that were sold. Yes, sir. Can you provide that for me? So then the question goes on. He goes, what about 2022? 11,000 in sales. And he's, yes, sir, I'll make an itemized list of things. The trustee says that, yeah, that'll be great. Now, he claims 17,000 in sales on Tails for Tots. You know what Tails for Tots is? It's like it's about like 8 pages folded in half and center stapled. It is the most janky thing. There's no way anybody sold 17,000 in Tails for Tots. It's the most janky product ever. It's not edited. It's not retail ready. It's just it's a disaster, like everything else that Justin has put his hands to. And even the art is just, God help us. So Tails for Tots, 17,000 for Tails for Thoughts, and then the moving along here. So Mr. Lanassa, it appears, this was good. Mr. Lanassa, it appears that the week you first paid Mr. Butler on the 3rd of May and on the 9th of May, that was the same time the promissory notes were due, and it was the same time as the transfer of the trademark that we discussed. That was the word mark for Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum. Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum was a word mark of TSR for 13 months. And then all of a sudden, because Justin is filing for bankruptcy, he transfers the word mark from TSR, the Dungeon Hobby Shop, but they put it back retroactively. It was retroactively. And he said, oh, yeah, but Mr. Nugent made a mistake. And he was just fixing the mistake on May 1st. Yeah. So you can tell the trustee knows that this is just hanky as all get out. The trustee brings up Indiegogo. Jeez. I wonder who pointed out Indiegogo to the trustee. I wonder who you are out there. I think I know. So 5,000 raised through Indiegogo. The question was, yes, sir. I believe it was part of the 17,000, because Justin himself realizes 17,000 for Tails and Tots. 17,000 for Tails and Tots is just a joke. So still $12,000 in sales for Tails and Tots. Yeah, that is just. Now we're going to get into who owns the real estate in Wisconsin. And Justin answers, Justin Lanassa. And when did you buy it? January 1st, 2020. Now the trustee, this is really interesting because Justin suddenly gets amnesia. Did you take out a loan for that? I'd have to check, sir. He doesn't know. You bought a property 3 years ago, and you don't know how you bought it. So the trustee says, do you mean to say that you have to check to see if you took out a loan to buy real estate? He doesn't answer the question. He says, well, I bought it personally. It's my property. And no funds from TSR or promissory notes were used in any way, the trustee asks. And Justin interrupts him, no, sir. And how did you or TSR or Dungeon Hobby Shop come up with the $1 amount for the value of TSR logo for a game that retails for $50? $10 to print the game, Dungeon Crawl. $50 is what it reels for. And every time they sell one, Dungeon Hobby Shop kicks back $1 to TSR. So Justin's, this answer was so fun. So I was there. Great. No method. Pause. Then he says, just came to fruition. It just happened on its own. I don't know. So $1. It just happened organically, inorganically. Next time a cop asks me, how does it come that you are driving a car that is the inspections is with uninspected, the inspection sticker is expired? just came to fruition, officer. How is it that you were driving 70 miles an hour in a 50-mile-an-hour zone? It just happened. It just came to fruition. Justin's making this stuff up as he goes along, my opinion. It just came to fruition. So, at this time, this is the point. There's a little bit more here, but this is the point where other creditors had an opportunity to question Justin. What was really surprising to me was the lawyer for Wizards of the Coast had no questions. I thought it's going to be a freebie deposition for them. They'll be able to ask him questions. He's got to answer them. They might want to get him on record. But I think this whole thing was so damaging. They're like, nope, I'll just score points with the trustee by not wasting any of his time. So then they transitioned from the Wizards of the Coast lawyer to Michael Hovermale. Michael Hovermale is putting in a claim that he has a wage claim. And Justin's pretty snarky, smug, and confident here. He's like, I'll prove it at a later date. And that's because there's an email in existence where Michael has actually made statements that he was a volunteer. However, that text log dump, 250 pages, makes it clear, I think it does support his claim that he was working for TSR. It is clear they are developing products. It's clear they are working together. It's clear on many occasions that there's just bragging going on. And so Justin's contention is that you were a volunteer and you made up your titles. Nobody comes along and says, hey, I want to volunteer for your company, and I'm going to call myself the PR guy, the IT guy. I'm going to make up a title. No. You don't get to represent yourself as an officer of my company unless you're an officer of my company. That doesn't make any sense, but so Michael had 3 questions, and my opinion, Justin knew what these questions were ahead of time. His answers were scripted. He didn't interrupt. He let Michael finish, and it felt like he was reading a script. My opinion, I think it was scripted. I think this whole plan, and in part it's because I blew up on Michael and I revealed that Don Samora, myself, and Eric Tenkar knew that Michael was working with Justin Lanassa. We had a source that had told us this. We then ran a sting operation where I fed false information to Michael, and it was a 24 to 48 hour turnaround from giving the false information to Michael to getting anonymous emails or troll accounts trolling me, messaging me on Facebook. And so, once, twice, 3 times, 3 strikes, you're out, Michael. Michael Hovermale, the evidence is very strong. I feel that he has been right along with Justin Lanassa from day one. I think Don Samora went to him and advised him, you need to get out. This guy, and I think Michael, when you read those text logs, Michael was in it. Michael was a Kool-Aid drinking, true believer, in it to win it with Justin, and the text log certainly backs that up. And we will probably continue this series on the bankruptcy, and we will probably continue that by reviewing those. But so I'm not going to waste time on Michael. Don Samora, I think we will pick this up next time with Don Samora. We've gone, 44 minutes? So I think we will do a part 3. Part 3 will be brief. We will cover the Don Samora, and I don't know. Maybe I'll send Don a an IM and invite him to come on that particular show. We might just do a quick live stream at lunchtime or something like that, and we'll talk about him asking the questions. And maybe Don will read his script, and I'll read Justin's answers, and I'll do the interruptions. I'll just get to be an asshole and interrupt him and be dismissive, because I think it's like 4 more pages of notes here to get through. Don trying to question him and Justin refusing to answer the question. Not going to answer it. Not going to answer it. Going to interrupt. And I don't have to answer that question. And the trustee's like, no, I want to hear the answer. And he refuses to answer the question. And so that's what we're going to have for next time. So that's what you can look forward to for part 3. Part 2 is not so exciting. But part 3, I think you will find to be very interesting. And so that is what we'll do. We're going to wrap this up and end it here. So thanks for watching. That is your part 2 of the bankruptcy hearing. And it was just a whole lot of, if Justin didn't like where the questioning was going, interrupt. And then his lawyer doing little clarifications to try to protect his client. You're really talking about TSR. You really... it was very, very, very instructive to me. And again, I would have had this recording out last week if I hadn't seen the info dump by Hovermale. And wow, what a chore to read that. But it's got some gems. And I think we're going to mine that for quite a while. And we'll show you how Justin and Hovermale were mocking Duck with his mental issues. And, it's just really some nastiness going on. So, and we have confirmations, some Star Frontiers confirmations that came out of that. So we're definitely going to do a few videos based off of that info dump. So thank you, Michael, for making that inadvertent mistake that you now regret. We appreciate it. Thank you, Justin, for all of the entertainment, because this was crazy, laughable. Publisher's mark, $1 sales, just absolutely ludicrous stuff. And so this is Tom signing out for Tabletop Taproom. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, bell icon, and we will see you again later this week with part 3 of the bankruptcy hearing. And I just couldn't get to it. 47 minutes to cover what we covered. It's just, yeah. And this bankruptcy hearing was an hour and a half long. It's crazy. So keep on gaming. Just don't do it with those pesky goblins.